Hey y'all, Lauren Conlon, owner of Team Loco Fit, and your girl just had her 30th birthday at the time of recording. It was actually yesterday, and we thought it would be just like a cute, fun video to do like 30 things I've learned in 30 years. And at first I was like, that's cheesy. Like, who's gonna like this? Who gives a shit? And honestly, that leads into my first one perfectly. Like, you're gonna laugh. Like, that was the first one I wrote down because I was like, nope. This is one of the things that I have learned, and it is one of my biggest struggles. So some of these are gonna be insightful. Some of them are gonna be funny. Obviously, there's probably a million and one things that I've learned, and I'm sure that I will record this and then like 2 days later be like, shit, I should have added this one, but we're rolling with it. First run through. So number one, overthinking every situation doesn't create a solution. But really, as soon as I was about to do this, I was like, no, like all these just thoughts of like why I shouldn't do this, why it won't be useful or important, whatever. I'm just overthinking it. We thought it was gonna be a good idea. I agreed to it, and it might be insightful. And it was actually great for me to like sit down and reflect on these things. And if you've been following the team page, so if you're not, you should, Team Loco Fit on Instagram. Every week we have like themes, and this past week was just because of my birthday. We were doing a theme of like just kind of looking back and what I tell my younger self and all of this, and it's actually been really, really great to look back and to see, you know, to really like reflect on, you know, what have I done differently, or you know, what could I have done differently, what should I have, but also not even just that, just like every experience that I've had has really shaped me to be here. And when I was home, I'm not even on the fucking list. Oh, this is me. Okay. Hey, welcome to me. I went home to visit my family. I found this like vision board. We'll call it a very loosely defined vision board. It was like a little like black square that I, like a foam board basically, that I put like sticky notes on. And I must have made it probably like max I was 20, right? Maybe 19, but probably 20. And it was really cool to look back and be like, wow, like I really did a lot of those things, but in a different way, right? Like it wasn't everything exactly how I had written out, but it was like same kind of idea. And so it is useful to like reflect back on our past and to see, okay, like what did I do? Where did I maybe mess up? What did I learn from that? And how can I use all that moving forward? And those experiences ultimately to help me become better for either myself or for other people. So it's been really cool to look back. So I really hope that you guys do get something out of this. So number one, overthinking every situation does not create solutions. And there is, on my meditation app, it's called Waking Up. I've talked about it before and I really, really like it. They actually send out these things called moments, and it's basically like a little 45 seconds to a minute like audio, right? Like random times of the day. And on there, Sam said, Sam Harris is the person who runs this, like on the first fucking name basis with Sam Harris. I'm not. We have problems that cannot be solved by more thinking. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a great statement. And it really is so true, especially for people like myself who are really, really prone to overthinking. Like I will overthink something to death, and then it's probably actually even past at that point. It doesn't even matter anymore. So learning that that is not what creates solutions. And that goes into my second point. I promise I'm gonna try to make these flow, but y'all know me. the flow is not always there. Meditating, or trying to meditate, is a really, really powerful practice. And it's one of these things that there's so much data behind it. Like the research on meditation truly is awesome. How it can like basically rewire how like our brain essentially talks to each other, and different parts of our brain talking to each other. And you know, I always saw that and I always thought that it was great. But I started to do it and I really, really struggled. And I still struggle. I'm not good at meditating. I'm not somebody who's just, it's not like my kind of default mode. But even though I would not consider myself a great meditator, first of all, there is no such thing as a great meditator, but you guys I think you know what I'm talking about, right? I wouldn't consider myself to be one of those people. I can't just sit there alone for 30 minutes and just kind of like completely go into my own space. But I've created enough cues and routines, whether it is the guided app from Waking Up, or like, hey, if I go into the sauna, I'm gonna give myself a few minutes to do this. Or I go for a float session and I do that. Or I'm walking and I just kind of allow my thoughts to drift or to just be totally present. It really, really has helped. So it's something that I fought for a long time and thought, this isn't for me. It's not kind of how I'm wired. But how you meditate and what you get out of it is totally different for each person. So that's great. Waking Up is an amazing resource. It is a paid app, but I really, really enjoy it for a lot of there's also a lot of theory on there too, which I like because nerd stuff. Third, walking is my favorite form of movement, or one of my favorite forms of movement. There's so many things that you get done with walking, right? And I talk about walking and people are like, okay, cool, bro, like walk some more. But really, you're getting steps, you're getting glucose regulation, you're getting light exposure. And outside of all of those physiological benefits, the mental clarity that I've been able to achieve with walking is really unlike anything else. And it really is something that is so simple, but it is so profound, and it's made a huge impact on my life the more that I have just added in basic daily walks. And I'm not talking anything crazy. Of course, if I have the option to go for a longer walk, I'm going to do that. It's not always feasible though, but just going outside for a few minutes for a walk really can help clear my head. And honestly, some of my best ideas come from when I'm walking. Obviously, the longer that you're walking, the more you're going to be able to do this. But I would say even if it is short, it is still powerful. And just getting outside and getting moving, like you just have so much more energy the more that you do. So can't recommend walking enough. That's number 3. Number 4, to piggyback off of that, me and the sun don't really get along. There is contour bronzer here. Me and the sun don't get along. I don't tan. I'm pasty as hell. I burn. I don't ever really get any kind of color. However, sun exposure and seeing light at certain times of day really has helped a lot. It essentially is going to set your circadian rhythm. It's going to help with your mood regulation and your sleep and your wake, cycles. So for more information on that, I always talk about Huberman, which we talked about on the second to last video, the delaying caffeine. His podcast is phenomenal, and he points to a lot of really great resources. So it's not just him, it's other people talking about this. And I've just noticed a huge difference, whether it's just prioritizing more bright light earlier in the day, and then also getting some sunlight like early and then like dusk. And there's a whole science behind it. But even though I am not necessarily one to love being in the sun, I do enjoy the benefits of sunlight exposure. So that'll be 1. That'll be 4. 5, being open to trying new types of training to not only improve your fitness, but also just enjoyment. So for so many years, I was, competing as a bodybuilder, and obviously like you're training for performance, but not really, right? Training for a bodybuilding show is so different because you're training for a physique goal. So it's a goal, but it's a physique goal, not necessarily a performance goal. Like, hey, I'm training for this, race. That's pretty clear cut. Bodybuilding is a little bit different, but I still love bodybuilding training. But when you're doing that, you can really only focus on hypertrophy. There can be periods, of course, of strength building and all these different things, I'm aware. But when you are in a competitive sport, even though this is physique related, I still have to make sure that I'm not doing all this other stuff on the outside to like get injured or to take away from my goals. So for a long time, it was just like, all right, cardio is for a calorie deficit, lifting weights is for hypertrophy in the right places, and like that's what it is. And being able to shift my mindset away from that has been really, really fun. There's obviously been different things that I've tried. Obviously I've gone to yoga classes, I've done things like that. I've been able to be, like if I'm traveling, like we just went skiing again, me and my mom, we did that last year, we did that this year, things like that. Not that I would have been like, oh my gosh, I can't go skiing because I have to lift weights. But it would have been just a little bit just different, because I was like, oh gosh, if I am competing, I have to be worried about that. Those are all normal concerns. If you're a competitive athlete, you should be concerned that you could potentially get injured for a season. But mostly I've shifted my focus to like, okay, I am going for more walks. Maybe not doing more traditional cardio, but I'm doing that. Okay, I'm lifting weights, and I might be not the perfect program, but I'm really enjoying this. Or I am on a really structured program because I want to be doing that right now, and this is really fun. Namely, I have started doing jujitsu, and I don't go as much as I would like. I would like to go so much more, but with just travel and work, it's just really, really tough. But it's something that I would have not been able to do had I just only been focusing on physique goals, or even just fitness related goals, because while it certainly is a workout, it's not necessarily, I don't go in there for that. It's more of the mental aspect of it. And now that I've developed a lot of friendships there, I am there for that reason too. So doing other outside things, I think, has been a really exciting part of fitness that I never really saw before, because for so long I grew up as an athlete with very specific goals Again, understandable, it's just kind of the way that it works, but it has been fun to dive into other things. Number 6, learning to appreciate small things in the moment. I am still certainly working on this, but I think a lot of times we can be so focus on our past and focus on our future that we really kind of forget that here and now, and just being aware and like taking in the moment. And this doesn't mean that you shouldn't reflect on the past to learn, and it also doesn't mean that you shouldn't focus on the future so you can be pushing forward, but just simply enjoying the moment of what you're doing right now brings so much more just fulfillment to your life. Like earlier, so I'm recording this, Chanel came into town for my birthday. You know, we're working a little bit this morning. Hey, we're gonna go get a coffee. Okay, like not like kind of a normal thing, right? There was just so much enjoyment. Like I'm there being present in that moment. And obviously I came home, I have a lot to do today, but I wasn't like, oh, thinking about this. No, let's go get a coffee. And for those 15 minutes of the drive there and the drive back and the whole process, I'm fully enjoying that. And that's such a silly example, but it really is like, oh, I sat down for this meal. Like, oh my gosh, this is such a great meal. Let me fully enjoy this. Or hey, such a nice day out. Like, let me just like soak in whatever I'm seeing, or like I'm going for a walk, like look how pretty this tree is. And that sounds like it wouldn't really make a difference, but it for me it really has, like just soaking in that moment for whatever I'm doing and getting the most enjoyment and fulfillment out of whatever situation that I'm in. Not saying I'm not dealing with the other things that I need to be tending to, but really being in that here and now. And I think that the trying to meditate, right, idea has certainly helped me with that. It's a huge work in progress, but I feel like I have gotten better, and that has allowed me to be more satisfied with a lot of things. Next, which is hilarious, 7, dopamine rules everything around us. The more I learn about dopamine, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, literally is what regulates, quite literally, everything. A really great book, so I don't continue to ramble. I was hoping this video was gonna be pretty short. Not gonna happen, because it's me. Maybe 31 should be like shorter YouTube videos. Anyways, 2 really great books on dopamine, The Molecule of More and Dopamine Nation. Memory. Both of those are phenomenal books, cannot recommend them enough. Check them out, and you will honestly see that dopamine is like the thread that ties virtually everything together. It is insane. Speaking of dopamine, number 8, Starbucks Nitro Brew is superior to all of the Nitro Brews. There is no fucking question in my mind. Now, Starbucks does not have the best coffee. No, they don't. As far as roasted coffee, they don't. But their Nitro is the best, hands down. It is super smooth. I feel like I go to a lot of other places and they don't nail the smoothness. It's very acidic. Not Starbucks. They know what they're doing with their Nitro cold brew. So, also black coffee is also superior. And any other feedback is not appreciated. Just kidding. I've just always drank black coffee and I love it. It's not a health thing. I just simply enjoy it. Number 9, cheese is still disgusting. At 30 years old, I can say that every cheese I've ever tried, I don't like it. Now, have there been meals that I've had a little bit of cheese sprinkled in, you kind of keep it moving? Certainly. But 9.9 times out of 10, I'm not eating that shit, and I don't like it. You can't convince me otherwise. I saw this meme. Oh my gosh, hold on. I actually think I can find it. This is so accurate. Hopefully everybody can see this. Yes, no, is it zooming in? Maybe. It's like that Will Smith meme where he's like, it says blue cheese lovers eating literal mold trying to tell you it tastes good. Yeah, I don't want to hear about it. Your cheese sucks, okay? So everybody who doesn't agree with me, you're wrong. Number 10. You can't go wrong with a red blend. So if you guys follow me, you know I love my wine, love red wine. And there's certainly ones that I gravitate more towards too, but honestly, when in doubt, just pick a red blend. You're probably gonna be okay because it's a literal blend of everything. And I've just rarely met a red blend that I don't like. Like or you just mix it with another red. You're like, I don't really like this one. I'm gonna put another red wine in it. And then now all of a sudden I'm a winemaker, right? You know? That's how this works. Right, number 11. I am an extrovert through and through. And being around people energizes me. And it's super important for me to have social interaction, for me to be fulfilled. And that doesn't always mean that I have to be like doing a million things, which I certainly love doing. But even just being like at a coffee shop or like somewhere where there's other people and being able to like mildly interact with others, like I get like energized from that. So it's something that took me a little bit of time to like recognize that when I don't do that, that I do feel very like isolated and off, right? Like, so if I work online, I have clients who are all online, and while I am interacting with them, it's in an online capacity. So I found that like there would be some days where I would be doing that and I'd be so drained, and I'm like, I'm not drained from this work. What am I drained from? I'm drained because I have not had any in-person interaction. So learning that about myself has been absolutely critical. Obviously everybody's gonna have different thresholds for what they need as far as like how much they need to see people. But for me, that's been extremely useful and insightful to know, okay, there's little things that I can do to just, energize myself and to really, again, feel more fulfilled with what I'm doing. However, number 12, when I do, I got the worst fucking handwriting, and that's actually part of what we'll get to that. We'll get to that if I can read it. If I can get like overly stimulated when I am with a lot of people, right? Because I get very up and very up, and then I can't think that well. I mean, I can think well, but I do need to counter that like social time with some time away so that I can like recharge and really be able to think on things and reflect and dive deeper and then be able to create from there, because if I get overstimulated, it's really hard. I can have some type of ideas, but certain things are just not gonna get done. So it's important for me to blend both of those. Number 13, learning and understanding your strengths will set you farther, will get you farther. My G's look like S's. Let's start again. I'm gonna start that again. Learning and understanding your strengths will get you farther than focusing on your weaknesses. Not to say you need to ignore your weaknesses, not true. However, there are certain things that is just, you could look at it as, hey, I'm lacking in this area. You could say, hey, that's just not a strength. However you want to look at it, whatever way you want to frame it in your mind, there are certain things that all of us are better at, certain things that all of us are not as good at, right? And that's okay. And there are certainly things that need to get done. Like, I'm not like, man, payroll really gets me fucking jazzed up. Obviously not. It doesn't. Nobody gets excited about that, right? But I'm still gonna do it, right? It's not a matter of like, oh, I'm not gonna do this because it's not my strength. No, I just don't want to do it. But I have to get it done, so that's not an issue. But when I can think about, okay, what would I be good at doing versus what would I maybe not be so great at doing, that's what I need to dive into. And this goes for, personality strengths. This goes for, like business strengths. This goes for like relationship, whatever it might be, right? Whatever you're working on, it obviously they all are kind of encompassing. And pick up certain weaknesses, right? Like I have plenty of weaknesses that I'm like, wow, if I don't keep that in check, it can really get out of hand. That's not fair to anybody around me. But I think what can happen, at least for people like me who can be very like nihilistically minded sometimes, is if I only focus on my weaknesses, then that like stifles me and completely like stops me and paralyzes me from moving forward, because all I can focus on is my weakness. Oh, I don't have this, I'm not that. Instead saying, all right, I have these strengths, let me focus on this. This allows more forward action instead of being completely just like paralyzed from not being able to move forward. Number 14, black clothes go with everything. As I'm not wearing black. I feel like plaid also goes with everything. I feel like I can't even show you guys this. Maybe you can see it. I'm gonna try to do this. Maybe, can you see Vader? Can you see Bay? So pleased with this. It's like my two favorite things. Plaid and Star Wars on one shirt. But no, black clothes goes with everything. Fight me on it. It's my favorite color. I know it's a lack of color. Whatever. Catch me wearing black most of the time. Number 15, winged eyeliner will always be in style. Okay. So me and eyeliner have a long history. I mean, I used to slap that shit on there. Like, it was heavy duty eyeliner all the time. And I have pretty big eyelids, to be honest. Like, there's a lot going on there, which is nice for makeup. But when you're heavy handed with the eyeliner, you get a lot of eyeliner on your eyelid. So I have thankfully refined my techniques. However, black eyeliner will still always be in, winged liner will still always be in, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's like the Stila, S-T-I-L-A. How the fuck do you say that? I don't know. But it's their felt tip pencil. I will put a link below. Shit is amazing. Gives you the best cat eye. I can literally do a cat eye easier than really most other like eyeliners in like 5 seconds with that one. Continuing with our beauty trend, number 16, I still don't know how to style my hair. Literally, your girl cannot do jack shit to her hair. So this is what it looks like most of the time. So maybe in the next 30 years, I'll be able to learn how to style this thing. Number 17, traveling and exploring new places is an absolute must for my happiness, fulfillment, whatever you want to say. I have started traveling a lot more over the past several years, and it honestly is one of my favorite things. I think partly, again, I get energized being around people, and I love seeing new places, being a part of new things. And when I go places, like, I don't need to go do like a lot, you know, it's not like, oh my gosh, I need to do this whole extravagant thing. But if I'm in like a place, like let's say I'm like speaking at an event, and then it's like a cool place I want to be, or like at a client show or something, and I can spend either like half the day somewhere or the next day and then fly out, like I will so do that. Like it doesn't need to be a whole planned big ordeal, but it is so fun to travel and go new places. And I feel like you just learn a lot about other people when you do that. I mean, obviously, right? But I think it's a really great learning experience as an individual to be a lot more understanding of things too, because you can see how things are so different places and kind of how people operate and why they might operate that way. So can't recommend traveling enough. 18, writing things by hand gets my best ideas and thoughts out. Caveat, if I can read it. I have the worst handwriting because it's kind of like, it's not cursive, but it's kind of cursive. So a lot of things are just like very chicken scratchy, and I don't really pick up the pen, and it's like, what's happening here? But kind of like walking, I'll be able to formulate a lot of really good ideas. Same thing with writing. Like this, I wrote down an outline, like jotted stuff down and then wrote it because I tried to make it more legible and kind of failed there. But I'll write stuff down for like outlines for like a presentation, right? I need to put everything online. I can't come up with ideas typing. Like, oh my gosh, no way. I gotta write it all down. And that's just where I get the best ideas out. Also, 19, paper planners are far greater than online calendars. Seriously, y'all, I was like, where's my planner? It's upstairs. I love, again, kind of building off of that. I just find that there's something so much more like memorable about writing things down. And I'm pretty sure there's research on that. I should probably know that while I'm just fucking spitting out these fake science. I get like fact checked. You're like, that's not true, that's a false thing. But regardless, writing things down, and I just find that paper planners are far superior, and I really just kind of enjoy that like tangible thing about them. The one that I've been using for the past several years is from my friend Emily Frisella's company, Paper and Plan Co. They make amazing stuff. The planners are top notch. They look super nice. They're very, very durable. And she has a whole bunch of other like paper goods essentially, because she also writes a lot of things by hand. So highly recommend her company. Number 20, I want to be in a constant pursuit of new information. And for me, that again is something that is really, really important to me. Always feel like I'm learning different things in a lot of different ways, right? It could be reading, it could be listening, it could like listening to like an audiobook or a podcast, or going to an event, or just honestly soaking up some kind of environment and learning something from whoever I'm talking to or wherever I'm at. So just always being in pursuit of new information is something that is really, really important to me as an individual. And I've recognized that like for so much of my life, you know, I was in school, so you're kind of forced to be learning things. And it wasn't until I took a step away from that to recognize like, oh, if I'm not working something in to actively learn new things, I don't feel as like put together. And it's not like I need to check this off my to-do list kind of a thing. It's more just in like I want to learn new information and then share that information, which obviously works out nicely to be a coach and an educator. So it's, you know, I picked the right career path, right? But it's something for me that I have to now go out of my way because I'm not in school to do that, which builds on 21. I love reading. I just love, love, love it. It's like my favorite thing. There's some days where I'm like, I just want to sit and read all day and go for a walk and do both those things. But I have to set aside time to do it. Otherwise it's not going to happen. So if you're like me and you love reading, right? But you're just like, yeah, I'll do it later, or I'll do it here. it might serendipitously happen on a weekend morning when it's raining and you got nothing to do, but how many times does that happen? You know what I mean? A lot of things that we like to do, we have to really reflect and say, how do I create time to do that? Because other things are going to take more precedence. Like working is above reading, right? That's pretty obvious. But I can still work and read. How do I get this done though? For me, if I get it done in the morning, I can do that. So I try to do that a few mornings a week. And then again, if I can just serendipitously enjoy, a coffee and, reading on the couch or whatever it might be, that's amazing. But it's not always going to happen. So working things into your schedule, whether it's reading or not, I guess that's really the takeaway from this one is if you want to do something, you're probably gonna have to work it into your schedule. And that doesn't mean that it's any less exciting or less worth it. It just means that it's actually gonna get done. All right, number 22, your shadow, those dark parts of you that you hide away, will consume you if you do not address it. This could be an entire 3-hour video, so we're just gonna cap it at that. But I do think that it is worth exploring that dark side of you because we all have it. It works in every theme of our life. I'm just so fascinated by this kind of like light, dark, good, bad, like the chaos order of it's like an undercurrent of everything in our life. But if you don't address it, it will literally consume you. So we're just gonna leave it at that one. 23. Owning a business is one of the most challenging yet rewarding endeavors I could ever have done. There's so many ups and downs, but holy shit, the ups are amazing, but there are certainly some downs as well, and that could be a whole other podcast. I feel like each of these ones, besides maybe like the cheese one, which I could go on a whole rant about not liking cheese, but I feel like a lot of these could be longer topics. So if you guys are hearing any of these and you're like, oh my gosh, please do a video on this and expand here, Number 24, being a leader to myself, my coaches, our clients, really everybody in every facet of my life is a skill that has to be developed and consistently refined. So leadership, I think a lot of people hear that and like, that's not for me, but literally you need to be the leader, even if it's just for your own life and for your own self. You need to become a better leader of yourself and your emotions and your discipline and your focus and your vision and all of those different things. You need to be the leader there. So even if it's not for anybody else, just for you, it's important. And that is a skill that can be developed, and it has to be continuously refined and updated and adapted, especially if we're talking about, when we're talking about being a leader in a capacity to other people, right? That is something that has to be very, very dynamic. And I'm always still learning about that, but leadership is something that I never really even thought about. 10 years ago, I'd been like, oh, how much do you care about leadership? I would have been like, okay, I don't know. Like, it's not really a thing for me. I'm not a leader. Everybody's a leader of themselves, regardless of what they're doing. Number 25, learning how to communicate, whether written or verbal communication effectively is one of the most important skills to develop. Oh my gosh, communication is everything. I think we all know that, especially if we've been in bad communication settings. But oh, tits, that is, communication is key. Number 26, hiding your true feelings or intentions will always hurt you or someone else later. Again, a lot to unpack here, but yeah, do not hide things. Do not hide your feelings or your intentions, because it really will always come back in some capacity for either yourself or someone else or both. And that's the unfortunate truth of that one. Number 27, laughter makes everything better. Honestly, laughing is my favorite thing to do. I love, just comedy is obviously amazing. I love funny movies. I love stand-ups. And I just find things funny in general. Maybe things that other people don't find funny. If y'all know me, there'll just be times where I legit just start laughing over nothing, and it'll be like, that wasn't that funny. And I am just in my whole head, making up all these scenarios about why this is hilarious and continuing the joke that nobody cares about. But laughter is great, and I do feel like laughter makes everything better. 28, listen more. Listen more. I think that being an active listener is something that, I never really developed as a, not that I think you develop that over time, right? Some people are certainly better at it than others. I'm just really talkative, so I've always been da, 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 da. And not that I was trying to not listen to other people, but I had the tendency to talk a lot, and I can be very overbearing in that kind of a setting. So learning to really be an active listener is so important, because you're actually hearing what other people have to say. And in a situation where you can learn something from someone, this is so powerful, because you're now not hearing what you really want to hear, you're actually hearing what they're saying. And then you're able to formulate other questions and other thoughts and ideas and like places that you want to take that idea if you actually are listening. So can't recommend listening enough. What a fucking weird thing to say. Why am I like this? Okay, 29. Whew, this is a big one. Okay, again, could go down a whole rabbit hole, but I'm not going to. Social media is an amazing gift to society, but it will tear us apart and ruin individual lives till we learn how to use it properly. Listen, y'all probably came here for 30 things I learned and some fun shit, and then I'm talking about society being ripped apart by the threads, but really it is. So we need to learn how to regulate that better because it is an amazing gift. It is not going anywhere. I love it, we use it, there's so many great things about it, but shit's also kind of fucked up. So let's work on that as a whole. And last but not least, fear of failure and rejection has held me back for most of my life. But you really don't know until you try. And that is a really cheesy old adage, but it works here. And honestly, it's something that I'm going to continue to work on and really make an effort for in the next, few years of my life. Because like I said, that really has held me back for most of my life, which kind of goes back to number one and number 30 kind of tied in perfectly. Fear of rejection, fear of failure. Then that leads me to overthink, and then that leads to inaction. So something for me to work on, and that's it. Okay, don't know how to wrap this one up, not awkwardly. I hope you guys enjoyed this, got some laughs, learned some things, and ultimately were able to hear something, reflect on it, and maybe make your life better in that sense, or just prompt you to go down a whole new path of learning and discovering something. So if you guys found any of those in particular to be useful or thought-provoking, let me know in the comments below. I can certainly expand and do a whole video. Like I said, there were some points that I was like, oh my gosh, I could do a whole entire video series on this, like the social media one, or like kind of that shadow dark side and all of that. So anyways, let me know below what other topics you would like me to cover. And for other information about our coaching services, how to contact us, you can visit teamlocofit.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. I'll talk to you next time. Wow, that was my podcast outro. Okay, bye.